Hey folks, welcome to the new kitchen. And yes, I'm in the new kitchen. The kitchen's not my favorite place to be, and I got to be so careful in the kitchen, folks. You know I make a mess when I'm outside. Can't do it in here. We took a short break, and we were absent in sending some videos out and on Facebook as well, and we raised some concerns from folks. We got some messages about health and different things. Folks, we just moved to a new house. Okay, just across town, but we moved to a new house. That's why we have the new kitchen. And we're still finding out which drawer the spoon is in and which drawer is everything else. Hence, why we have a whisk that we found. But before we found the whisk, I thought I was going to have to use a fork. Because what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the egg. Now, this is going to be a series of videos, not one right after the other, but we're going to do a series of videos about the egg. Now, there's ostrich eggs, chicken eggs, turtle eggs, quail eggs. There's all kinds of eggs. We're going to talk about the chicken egg. And there's a lot of names for these, but let's talk about the egg. To me, this is one of the most versatile ingredients you can have in the kitchen. Okay? It's a standalone by itself. It's a binder. It goes in cakes. I mean, there's just endless options on how to prepare this egg. Boil it or do souffle with it. You can do custards. I mean, I could go on and on and on telling you all the different ways to do an egg. But we're going to talk about the egg in a series of videos and how to utilize the egg in a couple of different ways. And we hope that it's extraordinary for you. And there's no X in that, by the way. Extraordinary. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the egg today. We're going to do a classic egg dish for you two different ways. We're going to do a scrambled egg. Now, everybody gets a scrambled egg. They take the egg up, they whisk it up, or they use a fork, whip it up. Some people add milk, some add water, some add a little different thing to the egg. You scramble it in a pan. That's going to be the first method. The second method is going to be in a pot. Okay? Scrambled eggs in a pot. Hang on there. Stay with me a little bit. We'll make it happen for you. So we're going to take the egg and we're just simply crack it. Now, there's debates over everything I'm going to tell you about the egg. This thing is everybody has an opinion. Do you crack it on a flat surface? Do you crack it on an egg surface? Do you crack it this way? Man, there's all different kind of ways to crack the egg. People have their own opinions about, do you get shells in it or do you not? The way I learned to crack an egg, just right on the side, okay? And the trick would be to crack one egg into your bowl. Make sure you don't have anything else. Crack the second egg into a separate bowl, but we're going to be careful and we're just for us. And we're going to make sure we don't get any eggshells in our egg. Now, I'm going to tell you stuff people already know. See, we got the yolk and the white. So if we were frying the egg, we'd just drop that in the pan, we'd be going. But we're going to put it together. You can use a whisk, okay, like this, or you can use my whisk and a fork. So we're just going to whip this up just a little bit, get it kind of pieced together. You want it to come together. Now, depending on how you like your scrambled eggs, a lot of people crack them directly in the skillet and use a plastic spatula, and they go around this way and they do the scramble. So you end up with some whites and some yellows. This way, you're just going to end up with yellow, depending on how much you beat them. You can beat them a whole lot. You can beat them just a little bit. Okay? And that's me with my trick. Ding, ding, ding. Being away, I didn't lose that habit. All right, folks, we got our pan on the gas stove. We're going along a little bit. I think I got, I want to make sure I had the right burner. You know, it's a new kitchen. I'm learning my ways around. Now, you can put oil in here. You can put a little bit of any type, bacon fat. You can put all different other kinds of things in here to scramble your eggs with. If you're using duck eggs, you can use duck fat. I mean, there's a lot of different methods to this. I'm going to use this Whiz Bang. I don't know what actually it's called, but it is I believe it's not butter of butters. So we're going to put some of that in there. And we're going to let that warm up a little bit, melt around our pan. And while it's doing that, we want to thank y'all for coming back to see us. I know that we've been away from the YouTube, we've been away from Facebook, and we apologize for the way we did that. We did have some personal things going on, but for all of you that were worried about our health and concerned about that, wasn't the case. So we're going to take our scrambled eggs and we're going to put them off in our skillet, and we're going to let that get hot. All right, to the eggs that we got in there, we're going to put just a little bit of salt. This is some kind of pink Himalayan sea salt, something like that. My wife bought that instead of regular salt, and some black pepper. You can use white pepper if you do not want to have specks in your eggs. Okay, but it doesn't really matter. And you can kind of see how these eggs are coming together, and we're cooking along. We're just going to get them all scrambled up. Not going to take long, folks. There's a lot of different ways people do this. Okay. Well, we're going to get these right there, and we get the off instead of high. And there we go. Look, I made a mess already in the new kitchen. Okay, folks. You can see we have the traditional scrambled eggs. We just put salt and pepper. You can put hot sauce. There's unlimited ways that you can do these. Okay. I'm hoping you can see that, but we've got some scrambled eggs. I have a tendency to call this hard scramble because they're not soft, okay? But there is a lot of debate on what's a hard scramble and what's a soft scramble. So let's go to what I call a soft scramble. We're going to do the scrambled a different way. What I call a soft scramble, it's not a technical culinary term, but we want to talk about this a little bit. For this type of scrambled eggs, we want to make sure we get our eggs well blended together, well beaten, a little frothy. Now, if you're in the modern things, you can use a little hand blender or some other little things to whip up your eggs a little bit. For me, the fork, man, that's my egg beater. All right, so we want to get that done like that. Okay, and before, where we heated up the oil and everything in our pan on the stove, for this method, we're not going to do that. So we're going to come get some of this. I believe it's not butter, whatever brand this is. We moved and stick butter. I couldn't find it. So it's here in the house somewhere. Now, how much butter? Well, I'm going to say a good tablespoon for each egg. We have 2 eggs, but I like to put a lot of butter in this method. Okay. All right. And to this, it's cold. I'm sitting on the counter, no heat here. We want to put our eggs in. Just like that. Eggs in with the cold butter. Some of y'all are looking at me kind of funny, but that's all right. No fire. We got our eggs and our butter, and we got a spatula ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to light this on a low to medium low heat. We want to put this on. As soon as we put this on, we want to start stirring. Oh yeah, it's not hot, but trust me, you want to keep stirring. You want to keep stirring. We're just going to keep this method going just like this, from cold to done in a pot. And you can do this in a skillet. Skillet's a little trickier. You want to slosh the stuff out. In a new kitchen, I'm not going to make that mistake on the stove. All right, folks, you can see here our butter's just now getting incorporated into the eggs. We don't have any of the typical look of a scrambled egg, right? We're going along here. There's nothing wrong with picking it up off the heat. We don't want to put a ton of heat in these eggs. We want to be slow and gentle. This isn't a quick cowboy method, but I've made this out on the chuck wagon, and people are like, man, this is a pretty good egg. My wife's behind the camera, being silent back there, But she asked me when we took a little break a minute ago, where'd you learn this? Well, I learned this method from watching TV. I saw Gordon Ramsay. I believe that's the chef that did this. And I thought, man, that's a pretty cool idea. So I just started adopting that method. There's probably a correct culinary term for this. I don't know what that is. I just know this makes a pretty good egg. We'll pull our fire down just a tad. We'll go back on and get some heat. All right, folks, we've been continuously stirring. We've been coming on and off our heat. Now, if you're doing this outside and you're on a campfire, this coming on off the heat is critical to make the eggs come out this way, okay? You don't want any kind of brown. You don't want any kind of lumps. You want these eggs to be creamy, smooth. And I always get a couple of lumps with it, but you know what? I don't have anybody complain about this method. We want to make sure that we don't overheat this. Want it to come together slow. As soon as you start seeing a little heat coming off of your pot, sometimes you might want to pull it off and give it a minute. Keep stirring. This is kind of like doing risotto or doing a custard or something like that. At some point, you got to keep stirring. All right, folks, we cut a little bit of this out so y'all didn't sit me stirring eggs the whole time, but you don't want to do this in cast iron. The reason is when you pull it off, you want the heat to reduce quickly. Cast iron, you're going to have residual heat. So if you try and do this in cast iron, it's not going to come out. You're going to come out with scrambled eggs like I had the first time. All right, folks. We got a little butter around here because I love butter, so I got butter a little bit more than usual. All right, folks, I might have some chef folks that are going to tell me these ain't going to be exactly like they're supposed to be. I have a lot of butter in these eggs because I'm going to eat these when we're done. But let's get this out with the butter. All right. So you can see what we have, and if I can find a fork in this new kitchen. These are a little, some people might want to have them more done than this. But you can see the consistency of these eggs. They're smooth, they're silky, they're put together, and it probably doesn't pass Gordon Ramsay's test, but I've never had anybody complain. This is the scrambled eggs that you're used to, I'm used to, I grew up with. See the difference? All right, eggs, scrambled, a couple different methods. Next time we come back with eggs, we're going to talk about omelets. The omelets that we call the American omelet, the round piece flipped over with stuff in between, versus the European or French omelet, which is a roll similar to a crepe. But I just think we're going to keep a few videos about the egg. It's a very useful ingredient, folks. We want to thank you as always for coming and watching us. And if you missed us on Mississippi Public Broadcasting, Deep South Dining was very kind to invite me to come on their show. You can watch it on their YouTube, their podcast. It's on our Facebook. We want to thank them from the bottom of our heart for that, and we enjoyed it immensely. Folks, enjoy your food.